Picture this. Your phone buzzes, your chest tightens, and a whole day tilts in 3 seconds. What if Buddhist teachings could turn that tilt into traction? Today, not someday. Here's the counterintuitive promise. Suffering isn't a life sentence. It's a system. Learn the system, change the outcomes. In the next minutes, we'll use Buddhist wisdom, Buddhist mindfulness, and Zen meditation to map the cause, Samudaya, so you can breathe, choose, and move with clarity. Stay with us. One precise shift on the Noble Eightfold Path can rewrite the story your nerves keep telling. We'll keep it simple and bold. The Four Noble Truths aren't abstract. They're daily mechanics you can test in your kitchen. Through Dharma talks and Vipassana meditation, we'll expose the quiet engines, contact, feeling, craving, that drive your loops. Buddhist philosophy offers a paradox full of hope. You're freer than you think and shaped by causes you can actually influence. Buddhist monks' teachings and Buddhism for beginners align on one strong belief. Clarity is kindness to you and everyone you touch. If this video gives you even one clean breath before a hard choice, pass it on. That's reciprocity as Buddhist spirituality in action. Suffering arises from conditions. Second noble truth. You've been told pain is just life, but Buddhist teachings flip the script. Dukkha shows up because certain pieces line up. In Buddhist wisdom, it's dependent origination. No single villain just causes stacking like dominoes. Think of a rainy morning, a late bus, a sharp comment. Contact lands, feeling stirs, stories spiral. With Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we pause the spin long enough to see the cogs turn. Suddenly, the Four Noble Truths aren't theory. They're street-level Buddhist life lessons you can test today. Here's the move. We zoom in on the body, views, and relationships, where we cling the hardest. Buddhist philosophy says that grip creates friction, and friction burns. That's dukkha. In daily Buddhist practice, breath, posture, kind attention, we loosen the fist a notch. Dharma talks, Buddhist monks' teachings, and Buddhism for beginners keep the message simple. Observe, don't overcook. A little Vipassana meditation and our always never thoughts get seen as weather, not law. We're not preaching escape. We're learning mechanics like a calm mechanic under the hood. Buddhist spirituality isn't smoky incense. It's a clear look at causes and conditions, here and now. Through Buddhist stories and parables, we learn how tiny choices tilt whole days, tea before texts, breath before bite. As the Noble Eightfold Path steadies our view and speech, clinging starts to look optional. And once we spot the gears, a sharper question steps forward. What's the immediate fuel behind this suffering? Craving, taṇhā, as the direct cause. You feel the tug, right? That itch that says, more now. In Buddhist teachings, that tug is taṇhā, craving. Buddhist wisdom names 3 strands: kāma taṇhā, sensual craving; bhava taṇhā, craving for existence; vibhava taṇhā, craving for non-existence. Through Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we watch how one small wanting snowballs into a whole mood. Dharma talks and Buddhism for beginners translated cleanly. Craving promises relief, then quietly raises the rent. The Four Noble Truths frame it. Identify the cause clearly, or we keep treating smoke while the fire rages. Kāma taṇhā is familiar. The scroll, the snack, the just one more ping. Sensual pulls dressed as comfort. In daily Buddhist practice, we don't demonize pleasure. We study its life cycle with Vipassana meditation. Buddhist philosophy asks, does the joy expand or does it trap? Watch the rise, peak, fade. Buddhist life lessons in real time. Buddhist monks' teachings remind us to meet the urge with a softer breath and kinder posture. With the Noble Eightfold Path guiding view and intention, we swap compulsion for choice. Simple, not easy. Bhava taṇhā and vibhava taṇhā run deeper. The hunger to be someone and the wish to erase what hurts. Buddhist spirituality points to the mask-making we do. Roles, reputations, avatars we clutch like lifeboats. Buddhist stories and parables show heroes chasing identity or oblivion and finding the same wall. More craving. In Zen meditation, We sit with the ache to become and the urge to disappear, noticing both our weather. And that noticing sets up our next question gently. If craving is the spark, what hidden conditions keep feeding its flame? Sensual desire's dual forms. Let's be honest. You want the good life and the good look. In Buddhist teachings, desire splits in two. There's the material pull, wealth, comfort, shiny upgrades, and the spiritual pull, fame, praise, that halo effect. Buddhist wisdom says both can sharpen competition and unrest, like tightening a drumhead. Through Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we watch the nervous buzz behind just a little more. The Four Noble Truths aren't scolding, they're diagnostic. Spot the cause, cool the fever, move freely. Here's the twist. The craving for reputation can cut deeper than losing stuff. Applause becomes oxygen and silence feels like drowning. Buddhist philosophy calls that bondage. In daily Buddhist practice and Dharma talks, we test this with tiny experiments. Do one kind act unseen. Notice the Vipassana meditation reveal. Relief appears when no one's watching because no one's to please. Buddhist monks' teachings and Buddhism for beginners agree. Attention is sweet. Attachment to it is sour. So we tune the instrument, not smash it. Buddhist spirituality isn't anti-joy. It's pro-freedom. Buddhist life lessons and Buddhist stories and parables show heroes swapping status chasing for service. With the Noble Eightfold Path refining intention and speech, we trade performance for presence. Zen meditation helps the heart feel enough, even while striving skillfully, effort without ego glue. And once the taste of enough lands, a bigger knot surfaces, our tight grip on being someone at all. Clinging to existence, bhava taṇhā. You know that quiet fear that flares when you imagine not being? In Buddhist teachings, that's bhava taṇhā, craving for existence. Buddhist wisdom shows how we armor up with roles, plans, and projects so we can feel solid and safe. But the tighter we hold, the more dukkha rubs. Buddhist philosophy calls it friction, born of clinging. With Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we watch the body tense and the mind bargain for guarantees. The Four Noble Truths invite us to see it clearly. Fear of loss keeps us from actually living. Here's the paradox we test in daily Buddhist practice. Life includes pain, and the panic about pain multiplies it. Dharma talks translate this gently. Security is a moving target, not a finish line. Through Vipassana meditation, we witness sensations arise and pass, proof that being somebody is a changing stream. Buddhist monks' teachings and Buddhism for beginners point us to small liberations, one unclenched breath at a time. These Buddhist life lessons aren't abstract. They're the moment you notice you don't need to win every inner argument. Buddhist spirituality doesn't ask you to hate life, it asks you to hold it lightly. In Buddhist stories and parables, heroes discover that gripping existence makes each moment brittle. The Noble Eightfold Path steadies view and intention, so I must endure forever softens into I can meet what is. When the self-story loosens, experience feels wider, less like a fortress, more like open sky. And in that openness, another tendency steps into view. The craving to erase what hurts altogether. Craving for non-existence. Vibhava taṇhā. Ever wish you could vanish the hard parts, skip the meeting, mute the memory, fast forward the grief? In Buddhist teachings, that slide toward make it all go away is vibhava taṇhā. Buddhist wisdom points out how we chase eternal heavens or total numbness, anything but this. Through Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we watch the micro-escapes, overwork, doom scrolls, spiritual bypass. Dharma talks, yes, even for Buddhism for beginners, name the pattern kindly. Avoidance feels like relief, then costs us clarity. Within the Four Noble Truths, it's simple. Dodging pain keeps us entangled with it. Buddhist philosophy isn't scolding, it's practical mechanics. Turn toward a sensation and it often softens. In daily Buddhist practice, we try 10 seconds of contact, breath, chest, jaw. Vipassana meditation noting pressure, heat, release. Buddhist monks' teachings remind us that neutrality isn't freedom if it's manufactured by running away. Buddhist spirituality is courage in small doses. Feel one honest moment, without the extra story. These Buddhist life lessons repeat because they work. Less resistance, less reactivity, more room to choose. Buddhist stories and parables show seekers craving a perfect elsewhere, only to miss the gate right here. With the Noble Eightfold Path shaping view and effort, we trade erasure for wise attention. Zen meditation teaches us to sit with the urge to disappear until it's seen as weather, not command. Soon the permanent escape fantasy thins, revealing reality as changing sensations that we can meet skillfully. And that sets the stage for a deeper look. If craving isn't first cause, what hidden chain keeps spinning it up? Dependent origination, how craving is conditioned. Here's the pivot. Craving isn't a first cause, it's a link in a chain. In Buddhist teachings, taṇhā grows from feeling, vedana, and feeling grows from contact, vasa. Buddhist wisdom says, a sound hits the ear, contact happens, a feeling tones pleasant, neutral, unpleasant. Then wanting wakes up. With Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we slow the film and watch each frame click by. Dharma talks translate the Four Noble Truths into mechanics you can test in a commute or kitchen. Buddhist philosophy stops being lofty. It's traffic, taste buds, text alerts, conditions stacking, reactions forming. Try this in daily Buddhist practice. Micro-noting, contact, feeling, urge. Vipassana meditation helps you catch the half-second where choice still lives. Buddhist monks' teachings and Buddhism for beginners keep it plain. You don't control contact, but you can meet feeling wisely. Buddhist spirituality isn't suppression, it's precision, seeing the exact spot where the fuse lights. Buddhist life lessons appear. When we greet an unpleasant tone with kindness, the craving doesn't get its fuel. Buddhist stories and parables often hinge on a single turn of attention. One monk hears an insult and bows instead of biting. The Noble Eightfold Path steadies view, intention, and effort so the chain loosens link by link. In Zen meditation, we sit like a still lake. Contact ripples, feeling tones arise, the mind doesn't chase every wave. Soon you notice something radical. Urges fade on their own when they aren't constantly fed. Which makes us wonder, if craving is conditioned, what sits even deeper, shaping the whole chain's direction? Ignorance, avijja, as the deeper root. Here's the plot twist under the plot. Beneath craving sits avijja, misreading reality. In Buddhist teachings, ignorance isn't stupidity. It's forgetting how causes and conditions weave outcomes. Buddhist wisdom says we mislabel karma, then argue with results, doubling our dukkha. With Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we catch the mind believing its first headline. Dharma talks, perfect for Buddhism for beginners, short-circuit the drama, notice, name, and don't add fuel. We think greed, hatred, and delusion are useful. Ambition, righteous anger, just being realistic. Buddhist philosophy flips that. Those three poisons seed the very storms we're trying to outrun. In daily Buddhist practice and Vipassana meditation, we test it in body. Heat, tightening, clench, see the cost. Buddhist monks' teachings and Buddhist spirituality point to a clean swap. Curiosity over certainty, kindness over control. Buddhist life lessons, drawn from Buddhist stories and parables, remind us, clarity isn't loud, it's accurate. Ignorance clouds the lens through which the Four Noble Truths are read, so the Noble Eightfold Path is our lens cloth. Right view and right intention. Reframe karma from fate to feedback. Ouch becomes information. Zen meditation lets the dust settle. When the water clears, choices appear that weren't visible. Buddhism for beginners or seasoned practitioners alike, the move is the same. See cause, meet effect wisely. And once ignorance is seen thinning at the edges, we're ready to ask, what exactly are we calling reality here? Reality as sensations. Look closer. The apple isn't sweet by itself. The sweetness is your lived experience of contact, feeling, and mind. In Buddhist teachings, reality shows up as sensations first, labels second. Buddhist wisdom just names what's there. With Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, you catch the instant before the story hardens. Dharma talks, even for Buddhism for beginners, say, meet the data, not the drama. That's how the Four Noble Truths become practical Buddhist life lessons you can test in your own kitchen. Here's a simple drill from daily Buddhist practice. See, hear, feel. Then notice the mind's caption machine. Buddhist philosophy isn't abstract when you track warmth on the skin, tightness in the jaw, light in the eyes. Vipassana meditation helps you map tones, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, without racing to fix or cling. Buddhist monks' teachings keep it kind. Let sensations rise and pass like waves you don't have to chase. Buddhist spirituality is accuracy with compassion, clarity that doesn't need a hammer. Try this on a text message. Buzz, contact, rush, feeling. They're ignoring me. Perception, story. Boom, a whole world forms. With the Noble Eightfold Path guiding attention and speech, you respond to signals, not to ghosts. Buddhist stories and parables repeat the same move. Notice the raw data. Watch the spell weaken. Soon, reality feels less like fixed objects and more like living experience unfolding now. And once we see that, a bigger question knocks. If not matter alone or spirit alone, then what view actually fits? Materialism versus idealism. If you've been told reality is only atoms, that's materialism. If you've heard it's only spirit, that's idealism. Buddhist teachings sidestep both traps with dependent origination. Experience arises through conditions, not absolutes. Buddhist wisdom points to impermanence and non-self, no fixed core, no eternal controller, just changing processes. With Zen meditation and Buddhist mindfulness, we test this by watching sensations and thoughts flicker and fade. The Four Noble Truths land as mechanics, not metaphysics. Causes shift, so outcomes can shift too. Buddhist philosophy isn't anti-science or anti-soul. It's anti-certainty that ignores the data of experience. In daily Buddhist practice, you can notice how me shows up as events, breathing, hearing, intending, then dissolves. Dharma talks in Buddhism for beginners phrase it simply, not things, but happenings, not statues, but streams. Vipassana meditation reveals how clinging to only matter or only spirit hardens the heart. Buddhist spirituality softens that grip, making room for accurate compassion. Responsive, not doctrinal. Buddhist stories and parables love this middle way. A monk meets form without worshiping it, mind without idolizing it. With the Noble Eightfold Path guiding view, we trade either-or thinking for cause-effect clarity. Buddhist monks' teachings show how this frees speech and effort, less ideology, more wisdom in action. Buddhist life lessons then get practical. You can adjust habits because nothing is frozen, including you. And that clears the stage for the next reveal, how the three poisons, greed, hatred, and delusion, masquerade as virtues. Greed, hatred, and delusion redefined. Here's the hard reframe. What we call ambition, righteous anger, and just being realistic are the three poisons in disguise. In Buddhist teachings, greed, lobha, fuels the suffering of change. Joy spikes, then crashes. Buddhist wisdom calls it a boomerang. Hatred, dosa, piles suffering upon suffering. Pain, plus aversion, double charge. Buddhist mindfulness catches that add-on cost. Delusion, moha, breeds conditional suffering, endless searching in neutral zones, hoping numbness equals peace. Through Zen meditation and Dharma talks, we test this, not theorize it. The Four Noble Truths as lab notes. Watch greed in daily Buddhist practice, the just one more loop. It thrills, then thins. Buddhist philosophy maps the arc. Vipassana meditation times the rise peak fade so you feel the cliff instead of falling off it. Buddhist monks' teachings suggest a swap. Generosity on purpose right where wanting bites. With the Noble Eightfold Path guiding intention and effort, giving becomes freedom training. Buddhist life lessons and Buddhist stories and parables echo it. Loosen the fist, widen the world. Now anger. It promises power, then burns the room we stand in. Buddhism for beginners makes it simple. Notice heat, pressure, story, and meet it with one cool breath. Buddhist spirituality isn't passivity. It's skill, firm boundary without inner poison. Delusions turn. The haze that says, I'll be happy when, Buddhist mindfulness names it kindly and lets it pass. And as the haze thins in Zen meditation, a quieter strength appears, pointing us toward the insight that ends the loop entirely. Buddha's insight, wisdom that ends the loop. Here's the clean cut. Buddhist teachings say progress and gadgets don't dissolve dukkha, wisdom does. Buddhist wisdom points straight at the source. Greed, hatred, and delusion aren't tools, they're traps. Through Buddhist mindfulness and Zen meditation, we watch how each poison spawns the next problem. Dharma talks translate the Four Noble Truths into moves you can practice before breakfast. In Buddhist philosophy, liberation isn't later, it's whenever causes stop being fed. Daily Buddhist practice gets surgical. Generosity slices greed, compassion cools hatred, clarity dissolves delusion. Vipassana meditation times the moment a thought recruits the body. Clench, heat, spin. Buddhist monks' teachings keep it grounded. Right view, right intention. Noble Eightfold Path as your everyday map. Buddhism for beginners or veterans, same compass. Fewer poisons, more freedom per breath. Buddhist spirituality isn't mystical fog, it's precise relief that shows up as wiser choices. Buddhist stories and parables whisper the same reveal. Freedom feels ordinary, like walking without a stone in your shoe. Buddhist life lessons make it tangible. Less reactivity, steadier speech, kinder ambition. As the poisons thin, the mind stops bargaining with pain and starts meeting causes honestly. The Four Noble Truths stop being philosophy and become reliable engineering for the heart. And that leaves us with a vivid invitation. Let's step into Samudaya directly and see the cause, cleanly. Before we close, I want to hear from you. Where did you catch craving in the act today? Kāma taṇhā, bhava taṇhā, or vibhava taṇhā? Drop a story below so our Dharma talks become a living notebook of Buddhist teachings. Which single move from the Noble Eightfold Path are you testing first? Right view, right speech, or right effort? Be specific. Your share might be the Buddhist life lesson someone else needed tonight. Tell us about one moment when Buddhist mindfulness or Zen meditation changed your reaction by even 1%. Was it a breath before replying, a pause before scrolling, or a softer look at pain? If you've tried Vipassana meditation, what sensation taught you the most? We're building a community where Buddhist wisdom and Buddhism for beginners sit at the same table, practical, human, zero fluff. Now a gentle challenge. What belief will you put under the light of Buddhist philosophy this week? Materialism, idealism, or the myth of I'll be happy when? Share your experiment plan so we can all learn from Buddhist stories and parables in real time. If this helped, subscribe and ring the bell to keep receiving techniques, daily Buddhist practice tips, and Buddhist monks' teachings. Steady, clear, and actionable Buddhist spirituality you can use the moment life buzzes your phone.